Hi everyone, welcome back to Law Study Kid. I have been very inconsistent on this channel. I recognize that. I'm trying my best, so thank you for sticking around and watching everything that I put out. For today, I was a little bit skeptical if I wanted to put this out or not. Generally speaking, I hate to be the person to discourage someone to do something. So I don't want to discourage anyone from becoming a lawyer in Canada. So I try not to focus too much on the negative. I try to be more motivating and I try to show the good side of things. That's just who I am as a person. But I also recognize that certain things, good comes with the bad, and it's also important to highlight some of the bad things and some drawbacks of being a foreign lawyer in Canada. So today I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to share a backstory because there's something that I experienced recently that has kind of forced me to really think this through and share this. So definitely there is a dark side, and I've done a video on it a couple years ago of being a foreign lawyer in Canada. It is hard. It is difficult to come in and then try to fit in, especially when you're an outsider, figure out the system, find a job. So it is difficult, but I'm going to focus on three main drawbacks and share a story which is probably why I'm talking about this today. So a couple months ago, I attended this networking event. It was in downtown Toronto, and there were lawyers from different firms who were also attending this event. So I was there after work. I went, and it was a good opportunity to network with other lawyers and just kind of learn about what's going on. After COVID, I feel like we're now getting back into meeting people in person. So it was a nice way to get out. So that's why I was there. I met a lawyer who was a partner at one of the bigger firms in Toronto, and we started talking, and a couple minutes into our conversation, I feel like he assumed that I went to a Canadian law school. I don't know how. I was talking about some courses that I took as part of law school. I don't know, but this person had assumed that I went to Canadian law school. And after talking to me for about 10 minutes, he said to me, well, you should be grateful that you went to a Canadian school. I have all these NCA students begging me for a job. And I was a little bit taken aback, I'm not going to lie to you. And I haven't really spoken about this with anyone. And I heard that, and I felt that was not right. And in that moment, I realized that, a lot of people, the way that I'm looking at the world is through my naive vision, where I think that people think like me. And, they say what they act like what they really mean. I'm pretty sure that this person, whatever he said to me, is not how he acts with those students, right? So after hearing that, first of all, I was really upset. And I did not know, I don't even know how to respond to that. So going back to my point about drawbacks of being a foreign lawyer is that there's subtle things that people will do because you're a foreign lawyer, and there's subtle ways of not giving you opportunities. And there's nothing that you can do about it, but just knowing that there are people who think like that. This person, if I am just looking at him and I'm not talking to him, I would have never guessed that this is what he thinks, right? And so no matter what you do, or no matter how talented you are, no matter how much you achieve, there are going to be people like this person who will judge you for, or not provide you with opportunities, or make such comments about you because you're an NCA candidate and not a Canadian law school graduate. So there's subtle discrimination which is not something that is out there, but it's subtle. And you can only tell when you experience it. So, I mean, this has happened to me once. I've never had anybody say such words to me, in the past years. But I was really, really, really shook by that statement. And I think that if this person thinks like this, there are other people who think like that too. So if you are a foreign lawyer, one of the drawbacks I would say is that there's subtle discrimination, and you won't be able to see it up front. You won't be able to, somebody's not going to come up to you and say it to you, but they're going to think that. And they're going to think that, oh, this person has a foreign degree, and hence I don't think that I would like to hire them. Not everyone is like that, and I can attest to that because I have worked with people, and I continue to work with people who don't think like that. But again, I wanted to share it, and I think that, you should keep your eyes open, and you should be smart about, if you feel something like that, just trust your gut that there is something like that. Moving on to the second drawback. Now, if you are a foreign trained lawyer, where you got your law degree from also matters, If you are coming from a country, so let's say you're coming from the United States, somewhere in Europe where your first language is English, again, you're a foreign lawyer, but at the same time, you still know how to speak English, how to write in English. And you also are more familiar with North American culture, all of that stuff. So I'm not going to say that it's easier for people from certain countries. I don't want to say that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's easier for someone to settle down if they are already from a similar North American culture because they're used to it. People who have law degrees from other parts of the world, other than North America or Europe or wherever, their English is not their first language. It can be harder because you're learning a new system. You're also learning a new language in different settings, right? There's one thing to know how to write in English, but then there's another thing to know how to speak English in a professional setting. So I don't want to make that distinction and be like, oh, if you have a law degree from a certain country, it's going to be harder for you. Or if you have a law degree from another country, it's going to be easier for you. That's not what I'm saying. The only thing that I'm saying is that you're more familiar with the culture, the language. And so that is one drawback. And, when I look back at my journey and I see the people, the friends I've made who came from different parts of the world, I can definitely see that it was harder for some people because of, their education system or their educational background than for others who were a lot more comfortable in the kind of work, in the kind of system they come from. Last drawback that I would say of being a foreign lawyer in Canada, and it's generally something that you will experience in Canada, people don't say what they really mean. The way that they're going to communicate, and this is one of the skills that I have picked up too, not really proud of it. I find myself sugarcoating stuff because that's how people talk, and they're never going to say something upfront. I come from a culture where people are very upfront. If they don't like something, they'll say it to your face. They will use harsh words to say things. And so I was used to that than this, where people are going to say things in a very nice way, but what they say means something else. So you have to be very mindful of and understand, what is this person really saying? Because sometimes it's really hard to tell. Like, are you trying to tell me that I'm bad, or are you trying to tell me that, oh, I'm capable? I don't know, because the way that it's communicated, it's very like sugar coated. You're gonna say one thing and then wrap it into something else, and then say it in a way where it doesn't look mean, or it's like politically correct. And so the person on the receiving end will never know what feedback is this. So yeah. The last thing that I want to highlight is that as a foreign lawyer, you have to make that extra effort. If somebody takes a look at my resume and they see that I have a law degree from a foreign country, they may not want to speak to me because of whatever reason, right? But if I meet this person in real life, the chances of me getting that job and being able to impress this person, the chances are a lot more than me just sending out a resume. And in my experience, I feel like I've been a lot more successful if I actually show up and start talking and I'm able to talk to somebody about what I want to do, what I want to achieve. I feel like people sort of trust me a little bit more then as opposed to when I'm just sending out a resume. So making that extra effort is, I would say, something that everyone should be doing. But again, it is like you need more time, more energy, all of that stuff. But that is something that you have to be mindful of as a foreign lawyer, because employers will get hundreds and hundreds of resume. How are you going to stand out? If you're someone who has experienced something as a foreign lawyer, please comment below and let other people know. One of the things that I think I'm learning now, and I didn't really understand this fully when I was younger, I feel like I've been looking at the world through my lens. I don't think that I haven't experienced too much discrimination as a foreign lawyer. And so I think that other people won't either, because that's the world that I live in, and I view the world from my lens. But after experiencing that conversation, I can certainly say that, there are other and different types of view of people that I was just unaware of. And so if you are somebody who's experienced something, please share it so that other people will know. And the reason that I decided, after spending an hour thinking about this, that I'd like to share it is because, again, I want to be honest. So feel free to share your experiences so there's more awareness and people know what they're getting themselves into.